What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're back at it, and tonight we're going to be doing something a little bit different and special. I wanted to do something for my loyal followers and supporters, so we're going to be watching Man Alive, The Bronx is Burning. I won't be doing a reaction to it. We won't be watching the whole thing. This is basically just be clips and outtakes and stuff like that. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy, and we'll get started. So for those of you that aren't familiar with it, this was a documentary done by the BBC back in 1972 for Engine 82 and Ladder 31 in the Bronx out of, I think the station was Casa Grande, right? So this is old school. This is some old school stuff. You know Spur, I'm all about old school. So anyway, there we go. There's Ladder 31. Pretty cool. I want to say at this time, I did a little research. I want to say it was a 1969 American LaFrance. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe some of you guys know. And then the pumper, the engine was going to be a Max CF. I think it was 70 or 71. So this was filmed in 72. Look at him hanging on the tailboard. That is so cool. Little drifting action with the tiller ladder.
Sometimes parts of New York look more like a B-feature film set than somewhere for people to live. Like the South Bronx, a backdrop to incessant drama for the firemen of
This was a bad time in the Bronx back then. They called it the war years. They had a lot of fires, a lot of things, a lot of bad things going on in the Bronx.
Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia put together. The New York Fire Department responds to nearly 250,000 calls a year, 3 times as many as the London Fire Brigade. And the busiest district is the South Bronx, where last year the men from Battalion 27 responded to more than 10,000 calls.
Man, American LaFrance looks like something straight out of the 50s, right? Like the way it's styled. It's pretty cool.
Few would challenge their claim to be the busiest fire station in the world.
You notice even their turnout gear looked different back then. It looked kind of, I don't know, it looked thin, like a flimsy or something. I don't know how to explain it.
Number 2, I talked to an officer here about controlling the kids on the apparatus, and he tells me it's a fireman's job. Now, when you're taking up, will you stop back at the 4-2 precinct there and get that thing straight now?
Look at the kids, like all over the fire trucks, and the officer told them that it's their problem. It's not like that at all this day and time. At least I don't think. Also, this is actually based on a book. This guy wrote the book. This firefighter right here. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's well known within the FDNY, but I can't think of his name. But he wrote a book, and this documentary was done, I think, not long after the book came out.
This is a hell of a... If we've gotten anything across to them about safety, this isn't it. Okay, all right. Christ, I mean, this isn't right time. 2 guys struck off a goddamn ladder.
The chief's still going on about the kids all over his equipment.
A routine fire in an abandoned tenement with no immediate danger to life or even property. Yet as a result of it...
It blows my mind the police didn't do anything about it. Like, they basically blew it off. They didn't care.
Half the men of Engine 82 and Ladder 31 were sent to hospital for checkups, including fireman Dennis Smith.
The captain and Vinny and I just came back from the hospital.
Dennis Smith, that's that guy's name. Okay, yeah.
They kept...
No, you guys that are big fans of sirens and stuff like that, you're gonna love that. Sounds pretty good. You see the lights, the lighting on it is like very simple. It's just a rotator and some flashing lights, and that's it. Another vacant building. Man, she's going, right? Look at that. They open that door up. She is going big time. Good knock, though.
Between 3 in the afternoon and midnight, between the time the children here come up.
Do also is I knew what they were doing. It was they get the piano wire, and they were stringing it right across the.
They set booby traps for the firefighters back in. Like, I can't even, like, why? What was the purpose of that? You know, what were they trying to accomplish by booby trapping so firefighters would get hurt? That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
And as the fire would burn, they'd open up the gasoline. As you're going in, the gasoline would open up and it would light up right in front of you, sometimes right on top of you.
Another unbelievable thing that they have here is like when there is a fire in an occupied building,
There'll be one floor that the
Dude looks old school. I'm telling you right now, with that mustache, he looks like he looks like 100th generation firefighter. So seriously, he looks
like we have no way of
looks
knowing
legit.
who's the occupant, if it's their property.
Acknowledge and respond.
31-10-4.
We got just all in one room with bunks. Do they still do that? Do fire departments that are manned 24/7? Do they still do that, or do you have like private quarters now?
Leaping flames, screaming people to be rescued. Chances.
That's a good looking tiller ladder, right? I like that look on it. It's almost kind of like Art Deco in a way, the way it's streamlined. It definitely doesn't look like something from '69. It looks like the 40s or 50s to me. There you go, riding the tailboard. Look at that, a whole bunch of them on there. They haven't done that since like what, the early to mid 80s, maybe early 80s. Yeah, riding on the turntable too, just sitting up there, just hanging out. Like I said, minimal lights. Look at that. There's like just the rotator, and that's it. They look really wide, especially that American La France. That thing looks wide.
The men may hope for the big fire, but usually it's trivial. A food on the stove fire or a small fire started deliberately.
Let's see, he's got air. He's got an air tank.
Did somebody start the fire, do you know?
We did.
Yeah? Is he in your family?
Yeah, it's my child.
Okay.
Oh, did you?
Her kid started the fire. Uh-oh.
You started the fire down. You did. What? Why you do?
The place was like that, so he's other than.
Is there going to be a kid getting beat down later because he just admitted to it?
Okay.
Yeah, I see some of them have air tanks, but it seems like just very few. So I guess they were limited on like how much they had per engine company, maybe.
He ran out of the house.
The door was open when we got up there.
11:30, and for ladder 31, the 14th response since the
Yeah, look
ship
at him going
began.
down the street at night, and you can't like you hardly see any lights. It's like the flashers are on, and that's it. It's a lot different now.
And this time, it is a major fire in a market complex only a few hundred yards from the firehouse.
No. There's like a tower ladder, really early tower ladder. Nice. Yeah, their turnout gear looks so flimsy. It just looks so thin. Like it looks a lot heavier this day and time than back
This was
then.
a serious enough fire for units from all over the Bronx to be
Oh,
called
it
in.
almost reminds me of like just rubber raincoats.
There were 39 appliances at this fire, including specialist units, a communication control vehicle and a fire department ambulance. Nearly a third of the 150 firemen needed treatment. Many were on sick leave.
One third of 150 firefighters need to be treated.
Casualties in the fire department are high. Last year, 3 times as many firemen.
Once again, I want to add, I'm not a real life firefighter. I don't know anything about it. I just know a lot of people on the channel like this kind of stuff, so we're just kind of watching it and reacting. I wonder if any of these guys are still alive. Like they're probably 80s now, maybe even older. 80s, 90s. You can tell from the clothing it's definitely back in the 70s. Look at their bagpipes, nice. You get much more a firefighter than that, right? I think it's more of a Northeast thing though, right, in firefighting. There, here we are, back with the equipment. Nice. Man, that looks good. That looks so sharp. I would love to see a game or a map that's nothing but like old school firefighting, like from this time, from the 70s, maybe early 80s, you know, riding the tailboard, not worrying about air You know, just that kind of really stripped down.
South Bronx, normality.
I think
An
a
abandoned
Bronx map
building
from this time would be
deliberately
really
set on
cool.
fire. It's no one's responsibility to pull down these buildings, so they're set.
Now a rubbish fire at 6 in the morning. This is after being out, 30 times a night. And here's some guy with a knife out, and he's gonna cut, and we're doing our job, and here this is all going around like we weren't even there. Here's the fireman putting out this rubbish fire.
Someone pull a knife on him during a fire. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me really. I'll tell you now, when I worked for the railroad, I saw some weird stuff like that. I never had anyone confront me like that, but I saw a lot of people out around the tracks that were really not in their right mind at all.
It's a bit of excitement. I mean, everything immeasurable is going on right here in the South Bronx.
It still blows my mind how minimal the lights were back then. I wonder what made them decide, as time went by, they're like, we need to put more lights on the engines. It was very minimalistic back then. I mean, everything was really. I mean, like I said, all these dudes aren't even wearing air. Well, one. Looks like one. It's like one dude gets to wear the air. Okay, two. There's two. Two get to wear air. Everyone else is just SOL. Maybe the ones wearing air was some kind of part of a search team or something. I don't know.
In a street on 172nd and Bryant, turned out to be a stripped carcass of a gorilla.
A gorilla, a skinned gorilla. Wow.
Skin was removed. South Bronx.
You know that dude could tell some stories. Man, I bet he could. I'd give anything. You could talk to some of these guys now. That dude was definitely really old school. For some reason, he reminded me of the dad in A Christmas Story a little bit. I'm telling you, even the firehouse looks a little rugged, right? It looks a little worn down. Look at him, just all over it.
There is surprisingly a waiting list.
Who determined that firefighters can no longer ride like that? Was that an OSHA thing, or was that a union thing, or how did that come about? I mean, I know it's in general it's just safer as a whole, but
sometimes have dustbins and rubbish dropped on them from roofs. Have even been stopped from reaching fires by snipers.
Wow, people sniped at them. That just... Man, you already got the danger of the fire, and then you got people setting booby traps and taking pot shots at you with sniper rifles. It really was a war zone.
Seem a mixed blessing. They can appear unnecessarily destructive.
FDNY destruction, right? They love tearing some stuff up. That is for sure.
And we do look like we're going in to direct the place, but to take out the windows, that's how we get out.
You do. Every video I've ever seen, they go ham on some windows, right? They bust out every window within a 1 mile radius of the fire. Everything gets taken out.
It looks like we're there to tear the building down.
Fires like this could a man take in a night? I would think one would be enough if he was inside like that first team was, 46.
Deputy Chief, nice. I wonder who this is. It doesn't tell who they are. I wish it did. So I'd like to know who these guys are and what happened to them.
Well, I presume that we will lose 1 or 2 men out of that crew. I don't suspect we'll lose them all.
15 times, every single one of them, false alarms. Sometimes the children will light a fire over in the park here, and that makes it legal. But very often they don't bother. And if they do get caught, nothing effective is ever done to deter them.
Man, those kids, I'm telling you, they're calculating. He said they'd light a fire in the park across the street and then pull the alarm. That way it wasn't illegal.
In London, where
but it's still technically a false alarm. I mean, really.
Is a malicious false alarm. In the South Bronx, every other call is.
But why do they do it?
Just for kicks.
Just for kicks, man.
But that's not right. To be doing that, because the firemen could be having a bigger fire, when it's a false alarm. So now they try to, tell them to stop pulling the fire alarms.
Have you ever pulled a
It's a smart kid. Man, he can reason that out. He knows why. The repercussions, I think a large majority of them just didn't care or didn't really realize. That kid did. I wonder what happened to him.
And what happened?
My good friend of mine, Mike Carr, his plaque over there. He fell off the rig. I was driving this apparatus here. behind him, and I saw him go off. They landed on his head. They died about an hour later of head injuries. And it was a false alarm.
He was killed. He died responding to a false alarm. Okay, I did a little research on this guy, Michael T. Carr. I did a little research on him. I found his Find a Grave, and it actually says in a little article that was with it that he was hit in the head with a brick while responding. And then he fell off I guess it was the ladder, maybe. I'm not sure which one he was on, but he fell off after that. So I guess they found that out later, because here it says he just fell off, but on the Find a Grave Memorial, it says he was hit with a brick, going down the road. So someone threw a brick and hit him. It's just, man, all that for a false alarm. So I'm not really sure how that went down, but that's what I read. Either way is tragic. Will that rescue? I wonder what rescue unit that is. Is that one? Like, surely that's not one. I don't know the history of them.
We often talk about it amongst ourselves that the one organization that you cannot do without is the fire department.
It'd be like Dresden. It'd be like the burning of Dresden, really. Like, it would be crazy how many fires and how it would get out of hand. He's right. In 1 hour, yeah. All those vacant buildings just waiting to go up.
Fire department, and you cannot bring the volunteer companies in from outside the city because there aren't enough of them. Right. There aren't enough of them in the around the metropolitan area to do the job for them.
How do they keep those white hats and those white shirts so clean? You ever know? It blows my mind. Well, it looks like this is it. All right, guys, there you go. The Bronx is burning. It's definitely a good video. You definitely want to check this out. I'll put a link down in the description for the full video. Super, super interesting look back at old school firefighting. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to hit that like, subscribe, ring that bell, leave me a comment. We may see about doing some more stuff like this from time to time for you guys. Love all of you, and we'll see you next time. Peace. It's Spur Gaming. It's Spur Gaming. It's Spur Gaming. It's Spur.